you mentioned that you had this experience of oneness and you could see the aliveness and the oneness of all things. And I think that that's behind all genuine spirituality, and even comparative mythologists like Joseph Campbell. I mean, one thing that his research points to is that in essence, all religions point to the same thing, the essence of all things. But I don't know whether it's our culture or the limitations of our language, but we mostly talk about the differences and not so much about the commonalities. So as someone that has worked with both, let's say, Native Americans and Muslim communities, share a little bit what kind of pointers you have seen, and like in the context of three principles that actually point to the same thing.
Yeah, it's a great question. And so it's, again, an intuitive answer, but it's the way you see things. Like if you see differences, there are differences, because that's the role of thought. Thought is the creative force that allows you to filter your understanding of what you see as an individual. Collectively, the role, see, the collective is oneness, and in oneness you learn quiet the little mind because it interferes with the oneness. Give up your personal opinion. In the psychological, the individual, you're looking for yourself, and you're taught to quiet your mind because it interferes with your success on a personal level. And then at a certain point, you reach a stage where this quiet mind, and you start to say, and what else is there? And then you step into the spiritual. So the quiet mind leads to the spiritual. And when you're in the spiritual, it's the requirement for staying in the spiritual or seeing that it's one. So that's the three principles. In essence, what you can see is thought. And if you understand that it's the same, they're both the same thing, but they arrive in the middle. You're a spiritual human being. So from that context, now if you live that, it's different than if you talk about it. You see, what you're talking about, the first thing is what's the theoretical or the philosophical, and then the second is how do you apply it in actually doing it. And that's, again, the principles. The principles are not to go to a conference and experience a high or a group consciousness. It's very helpful. It reminds you of who you are. But you haven't heard anything if you don't go back into your ordinary life and apply it. That's Native American teaching. You can go into a ceremony, you go into the sweat lodge, and the spirit comes. And take my word for it, you know the spirit has come. I'm not talking about hokey pokey stuff. I'm talking about fact. And it's come. And you have this incredible spiritual feeling. Now, listen to this. This is so cool. So then you come into a sweat lodge. The people have huge problems. They look beaten. They go in and experience the sweat ceremony, 4 rounds with the hot rocks, and it's all in an enclosed circle. And they experience spirit. They come out totally healed, totally healed. Yet they start talking about what they talked about before they went into the sweat, and then within 20 minutes, they've lost it. See, they didn't see where the spirit came from. They saw a spirit was healing, but they didn't see where it originated from. It was them who experienced that. They didn't see that. And so they started to talk about the same thing. So there's the trick to addiction, which obviously the other thing is, what am I doing in addiction when I've never taken a psychology course and I've never been addicted theoretically? You know, I mean, everyone has addictive behavioral patterns. Everyone, 100%. So don't start thinking you're so smart. So, but the role of thought is the psychological component that it creates form. It creates feelings, it creates form. And the role is the three principles can be all channeled into two words: change thought. Change. But Sid's not talking about personal thought. He's talking about a deeper dimension of thought. That's the difference between what Sid, when Sid says change thought, he's not talking about picking apples and oranges, as he would say. You know, I'm talking about, you see that your thoughts are the boogeyman. You shift them over, you stop applying your consciousness to those thoughts. You just change thought, your addiction is gone. And when you want to think about it, it's back again. And then you change thought. Again, the three principles. When you start seeing it like that, you forget about whether a person is Indian or Muslim, or the woman has this, you know, had a jab on, you know, a jab on her, you know, you don't see that. You don't care about that. You care about the quality of the person in front of you. And that's all you see.